September 26th. And this morning I want to talk about the toll that's going to be exacted on people in Manhattan. Congestion pricing toll. So if you live in the outer boroughs, or you live in New Jersey or Connecticut and you choose to drive to work every day, it's going to start costing you money. But not right now, because the entire congestion pricing situation was put on hold because of the pandemic. Now, this idea came about in 2019, when the city decided that there was too much traffic downtown below 60th Street. I don't know why 60th Street is the cutoff. But in any event, that's what they decided. So they decided they're going to have congestion pricing for people who have to drive below 60th Street. Now, you won't have to pay that toll if you're on the FDR Drive or the West Side Highway and you just zip around there to go someplace. But once you leave the highway and then end up on some of the side streets, you'll be required to pay this toll. And this toll is going to be collected via Easy Pass. And somehow or other, they've decided that if you have Easy Pass, the toll for you would be somewhere between $9 and $23 a trip. If you don't have Easy Pass, it's going to be somewhere between $14 and $35 a trip. That's pretty expensive. It would seem to me that if I was working in Manhattan at some kind of low-level job, I could not afford to go to work. Now, this toll would only be charged once a day. So if you had to go in and out of Manhattan, it wouldn't cost you more than $9 or $23. This whole thing is still up in the air. They're still going to hold hearings and everything, and they've got to decide on who is actually going to pay this toll, because there are going to be many exemptions. There are going to be exemptions for people who have disabilities go into effect for another couple of years right now. But it's going to happen unless something drastic takes place. And I kind of think it's very unfair to penalize people if they have to go to work by car. And don't forget, if you go into Manhattan, you don't park on the street for nothing. I don't know what it costs to park for a day in one of the garages, but the last time I was down in Manhattan and had to park in the garage, and we were going to Radio City to see the Christmas show with the kids when they were small. They were little. So I'm going back a long, long time as my grandchildren were little. Maybe it's 15 years ago or so. And it was $48 to park the car near the Radio City Music Hall at that. So if you put congestion pricing in and parking the car, it's a fortune, a small fortune. So I don't know how the average worker, and I'm talking about the average worker who makes the average salary, which in this country is about $70,000 a year. It's going to cost them a fortune to go to work. Maybe they'll stay home. That would be one more good reason, if you're living and working around Manhattan, to be happy to work from home, to be happy to continue the way we have continued here during the pandemic. So while I see that the city needs the money maybe, then they're going to give a portion of these tolls to the MTA to better run the subways and the transportation into town. And maybe if they take enough of this money, they could buy some more buses and things like that to get people in and around town or something. So I don't know, there's an awful lot of things to consider when you talk about something like congestion pricing. Seems to me there ought to be a better way. And maybe somebody will strike up a business of their own, where they will allow people to park outside of the 60th Street limit from 60th to the Battery. That's the whole bottom of Manhattan. That's where most of the businesses are located. So somebody will figure out a business where they can, like an Uber, special Uber, or Lyft or one of those guys. They could make a fortune because you get into one of their things. It might be cheaper than paying the $9 to have your car around in Manhattan. No, very interesting. One of the reasons they put the toll into effect was because the travel speeds in Manhattan had slowed down. So isn't that what we want? We want safer roads in Manhattan. So why in the world are they putting this toll on? One could argue that. If the speeds slow down, that's good for Manhattan. But then, of course, people bitch because they can't get any place. So it's a conundrum. It's a huge conundrum. Who and what and who and how they all are going to benefit from this congestion pricing. I don't know. I don't know what the real answer should be. Anyhow, they're going to continue to have meetings on this thing for the next 3 or 4 weeks to decide who and what to do, and then it won't be put into effect until probably 2022 or 2023. And maybe it'll never be put into effect because if the pandemic keeps on raging, then there won't be any real need for congestion pricing because everybody will be working from home, or most of the people will be working from home. I haven't been into Manhattan in a couple of years, so I don't know what really is going on down there. But it seems crazy to me that this thing's not going to take place until, 2023, and we're hassling about it, and New Jersey is very upset because their people are going to be penalized. And Connecticut really hasn't chimed in because maybe they don't have a lot of people who drive all the way from Connecticut into the city. But we got a lot of people that drive into the city from Jersey, I'm sure of that. But they live in Jersey because it's cheaper to live in Jersey, but maybe not that much cheaper. Well, you could live in Jersey City and you probably could take a train in or just, I don't know. Anyhow, it's a very interesting conundrum that we would have congestion pricing in a city. But it must exist somewhere because I'm sure that the politicians must have found a way or reviewed something that told them there would be congestion pricing somewhere. And of course, the people who live in that part of the city have a lot to bitch about because of the noise and the fumes and everything. And I can't blame them. But on the other hand, they knew what they were getting into, and they probably live in the city and can afford to live in the city, and it's convenient, and they can walk to Broadway or do whatever they want to do and get plenty of entertainment. So they have to put up with the noise and the cars and the fumes. That's the cost of being able to live in a city. Anyhow, it's a very interesting project that's going on, and we'll see how it works out. If they ever get through these meetings, because they might have meetings for another 5 years. It's a tough decision. New York is not the first place to want to try congestive pricing. It already exists in London and in Stockholm and into a couple of other major cities around the world. So this is not a new idea. We have kind of stolen it from some other country. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.